so much space. When you out there without care, I was out of tune. But it wasn't because I didn't know, no. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. I hope that you're having the time of your life.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Hope you guys have had a fantastic day. I'm going to need about 12 minutes of your time, as is my custom. I love to jump on here right before the news just to give you my thoughts on the events of the day. As many of you know, let me bring you up to speed. The reason I referred to Chilufya Tayali as a sex offender and accused rapist is because he is those things. Somehow he has managed to convince some of you to turn a blind eye to that part of his life, which in my view is a very significant, a very big jigsaw puzzle in the totality of who Chilufya Tayali is. The moment you begin to sidestep that, the moment you begin to pay lip service to that and ignore it and sort of brush it aside as an inconsequential nothing, you begin to lose the essence of who he is. And he does a very good job of detracting you. He does a very fine job of deflecting attention from his personal demons, and he focuses them and casts them onto something else. Everybody knows that he's been on a crusade last several months to try and paint the current president as a dictator. Now, let's be clear. There's no such thing as a perfect president. There'll never be, there never has been, and there will never be. But we do understand and realize that there are some presidents that are better than others. Regardless of what you think of the current president, President Hakainde Hichilema, you may like him, you may not like him, you may loathe him, you may disdain him. But the one thing you can never say about him is that you can't call him a dictator because he doesn't fit the description. If you want to talk about dictators, Idi Amin is a very good example. A man who ruled Uganda with an iron fist. A man who killed multiplicity of multitudinous tens of Ugandans under the cover of darkness. Pol Pot, the despot of Cambodia, who murdered and slaughtered millions of his own people. He was a dictator. Mussolini was a dictator. Adolf Hitler, the consummate dictator, the Third Reich over there in Deutschland, exterminated 6 million plus Jews all across Germany. Dictators that look down at their people like ants. The young man from North Korea, Kim Jong-un, he's a dictator. You have to wake up as a North Korean. You have to sing his praises. In North Korea, the children are taught that Kim Jong-un is a god. They worship him. They fall at his feet and they exclaim that he is the august, he is the supreme, he is the all-standing God over there in North Korea. Those are dictators. How dare you, Tayali, turn around, call Hakainde Hichilema a dictator. Now, let me explain to you why Tayali does that. Unfortunately, Tayali knows the power of repetition. He knows it. And this is the reason Tayali can never get a regular job. He can never be in the employ of any company. He can never be given a job in any government position because he wants to live on his own terms. He knows that the only tool that he has is to sit in front of a camera and say the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again until it begins to take root in the hearts of some of you. There are many of you who follow Tayali. You send him money. You are his demographic. You are his constituents. You are the people he appeals to because he appeals to the deranged part of who you are. So he knows that if he can consistently repeat the same thing over and over and over again, it is a propaganda modus operandi. Anybody that's skilled in the art of propaganda will tell you, just say the same thing every day. You could be talking about ordering Coca-Cola, but add that one. Tayali can be sitting down talking to you about Coca-Cola, but at some point the conversation will turn into, this glass of Coke is great. It's beautiful. It's cold. Nice ice cubes in there. But did you know that Hakainde Hichilema is a dictator? Did you know that? Did you know? And then you that are sitting with him, you think, what does that have to do with Coca-Cola? It's because he knows the power of repetition. Now, here's the sad thing about that, is that it's one thing to repeat a truth. It is a completely different thing to repeat a lie. That's the reason it's called propaganda. Propaganda is the art of convincing the masses of something that doesn't exist. It doesn't. It is more accurate to say, I don't like Hakainde Hichilema. It's more accurate to say, I don't like his style of governance. It's more accurate to say, I'm a bit jealous that, the Zambian people voted for Hakainde Hichilema. That's more accurate. But to say, to accuse, to imply that Hakainde Hichilema is a dictator when you know good and hell well that he doesn't fit the bill. When you look at history and you look at all these leaders that have been labeled and called and defined and tagged as dictators, Hakainde Hichilema doesn't even come close. If anything, he is the direct opposite. You guys know the history we've just come from. You know the background that we've just come from. You know the umbrella, the regime that we have just crawled out of. You know that. And you know good and hell well that when you compare the two, you know that Hakainde Hichilema is not a dictator. Now, here, let me say this, and I've been saying and I'll say it again. While we agree that there's no such thing as a perfect government, we do agree that there are some governments that are better than others. Did you catch that? Did you hear that? Did you know that? There are some governments that are better than others. Comparatively, when you look at where we've come from and compare it to where we are in a whole lot better place than what we were before. And you know it. Now, this whole thing, this whole push that Tayali is trying to advance, it's about self-preservation. That's all it's about. It's got nothing to do with love of country, because he's somehow hoodwinked you, poor supporters. When I say poor, I mean pathetic. When I say poor, I don't mean economically. I mean, just mentally. You poor Dwanzi people that follow this Tayali. And I see your comments. Oh, no, you're so right. Tayali, you're telling the truth. Tayali, you are a freedom fighter, my foot. Like, serious. How dare you flippantly use that word, freedom fighter, and associate it with associate it to an ant, a gnat, a despot, a nuisance, a political vagabond like Tayali. How dare you use that word, freedom fighter? It is a slap in the face of real freedom fighters, people that fought and bled for this nation. How dare you sit there and call Tayali a freedom fighter? You don't even know what a freedom fighter was. You wouldn't even know what it was if it hit you in the face. Freedom fighter. You insult the legacy of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda when you say that. You insult the legacy of Simon Mwansaka when you say freedom fighter and you call Tayali a freedom fighter. How dare you? How dare you? So here it is. You guys know the story. I got 4 more minutes before the news comes in. A few days ago, some intruders broke into Tayali's yard. It was all caught on CCTV. Tayali has the audacity. He has the unmitigated gall. Because, for everything for him has to be exaggerated. It has to be brought up to the zenith. He turns around and says, no, that's the army. Well, how do you know it's the army? Well, I could see the guns. Bruh, anybody has access to any type of gun. Anybody. If you really, you remember a while ago, Spax. Remember Spax? The miner from, where's he from? Chingola? He's from Chingola. The young man, Spax. He has a gun, a military issued gun. Sorry, not military issue. A gun that is very akin to weapons that are used in the military. But Tayali says, no, those guns can only be used by military people. Nonsense. Intruders break into his yard, and then Tayali has the audacity of saying this was the army. So the army, according to the CCTV camera, and according to Tayali's narration, he shot in the air using a little tiny pistol. And the army, according to Tayali, the army fled. So here's my question. If indeed, and we know that wasn't the army, okay, because that's not their jurisdiction, all right, if Tayali wants to be taken, he'll be taken by the police. Why would the army stoop so low as to stoop this low and go and get to Tayali? That's the jurisdiction preserve of the police. If they want him, they want him. Tayali's a regular citizen, just like you and me. There is nothing intrinsically special about Tayali. For the army, nonsense. So Tayali says, no, the army came to get me. But I shot in the air with my little pew, pew, pew pistol. And then the army, oh, Tayali shot at us. We need to go. We need to flee. I know we're the army, but oh, did you hear that pistol? We got to go. The army fled, according to Tayali. So you're telling me, if the army failed to get to Tayali, how are they going to protect this country? Those are the questions you must ask. Washala, 1 minute. The insult to injury was when today Tayali says, no, Nala Chita withdraw Tuma donations. Listen to the words he used. Tuma donations. I'm going to get your Tuma donations. Meaning, if you want, the money you've sent me is nothing. But I'll get it. And I'll go and book a lodge somewhere. Na imwe kwa TV pururu, muna mtumine mpia. Ama 5 kwacha, ama 2 kwacha, ama 50 kwacha. It adds up. But because he's so dwanzy, he will refer to you and say, me, I'm going to remove those to my donations you sent to me. Ale mituka. Instead, yakulanda to thank you. Kalete to my donations. Na imo mune konfuila. Nonsense. It's 7 o'clock. I got to go. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.